Okay, I think that's us recording. Hello, people of the interwebs. It's nice to have you here today. What I'm going to do is a super simple recipe for granola. And I'm a little bit obsessed with granola. I make it a lot. Once I realized how easy it was, it's something that we eat every day. And obviously, because of all of my food intolerances with gluten and things like that, it's just easier for me to make it at home. Partly because it works out a ton cheaper, like approximately a third of the cost. Because if you want to buy gluten-free granola with no additives and things in the shops, it's about $3.99 for a small bag, which lasts one person a week. Whereas this, I can't remember how we costed it out, but I make a big enough batch at a time for two of us to eat it for 2 weeks. And yeah, cost-wise, it's about a third of the cost, I think. The recipe I'm doing today is slightly experimental. When I say that, it's because I'm experimenting with flavors at the moment, especially with it coming up to autumn here in Glasgow. It's been chucking down for the last 2 days, and it's going to rain all week apparently, so summer is definitely over in Scotland. And the other thing as well is that homemade granola is much healthier than shop-bought granola. Part of the reason for that is because they use a lot of oil and a lot of syrup. The very first recipe I ever tried to make granola with was the same. It was half a cup of coconut oil and half a cup of maple syrup or honey or a mix of both. And obviously, having polycystic ovary syndrome, sugar is something we're supposed to avoid as much as we can. So I've been looking for ways and means of sweetening granola without adding processed sugar. And the way that I've hit on doing that at the moment is with date paste. But I'm still trying to work out, the actual perfect ratio. So that's where you join me today on my granola journey. So yeah, I've measured everything out to save time, but I will explain to you what I've done as I'm doing it. So the first thing you will need is a large mixing bowl, and this is 4 cups of just rolled oats. Don't get the quick cook ones. Try and get just plain rolled or steel cut or something like that. These are Scott's porridge oats. The funny thing about oats is that we've heard a lot of people say to us that they've got gluten in them, you shouldn't eat them. It's actually not quite true. Oats themselves don't have gluten in them. It's the way that they're processed that puts gluten into them. And so they're much lower than, say, a wheat product or other grain products or other, things like that. So if you're celiac, do not touch them. Enough said. If you're like me and you're intolerant to them, maybe try oats. Just see how you get on. If you have a bad reaction, then fine, walk away. If not, gluten-free oats are expensive, and it's because they're done in gluten-free factories, which is fair enough. And again, you can make this exact same recipe with gluten-free oats, and it's fine. I have done that many times. Okay, so 4 cups of oats. This is, I should have done these in slightly wider things without tipping them all over my keyboard. This is 1.5 cups of mixed nuts and seeds, and the ratio I do is 1 cup of nuts to 1/2 cup of seeds. And I have walnut chunks, cashew nuts, whole almonds in here. Sometimes I use Brazil nuts, sometimes I use hazelnuts, sometimes I use coconut flakes. And then 1/2 cup of seeds, I've gone with pumpkin seeds, linseeds, and sunflower seeds. Hulled, obviously you don't want the shells in there. So that's 1.5 cups total. And this is 1.5 cups of dried fruit. And this time, because I wanted to make a date and ginger granola, I've gone with 1/2 cup of cranberries, 1/2 cup of blueberries, 1/4 cup of raisins, and 1/4 cup of chopped up pieces of crystallized ginger. Delicious. And then instead of using the syrup the syrup and oil mix, what I've done is I've gone with date paste. And the way to make this is to take a cup of dates, just dried dates with the stones taken out of them, and soak them in a cup of boiling water for... Actually, do you know, I think I only left those for about 5 or 6 minutes before they start to break down. And then I did them with, it's a bit sticky because I haven't washed it up yet, but with my handheld blender into a smooth paste. And then because this is date and ginger, I have also added 2 teaspoons of this, which I picked up from the local Oriental food store here, who do an amazing range of things. I love this shop. But yeah, this is Korean ginger tea, and if you've never had it, it's quite similar actually to like stem ginger, but instead of syrup, it's like a kind of jelly. It's almost like ginger jam. Yeah. You're just supposed to mix it with hot water, but it's got that fiery stem ginger taste. So I've mixed some of that in with my date paste. And last but not least, and you're probably not going to be able to see this because if I tip it, it'll go all over my keyboard. I have here, this is 3 teaspoons of mixed spice. It's the same stuff that you put in your Christmas cake or your Christmas pudding. It's a mix of things like cinnamon and cloves and nutmeg and all of the tasty Christmas things. You can also use like pure cinnamon, or you can use vanilla, or I have done it with pumpkin spice for the autumn, which is super good. And then instead of date paste, chuck in half a cup of syrup and half a cup of pumpkin puree. So good. And finally is, you can't see it because obviously it's white against the white plate, but this is a teaspoon of salt. And I know a lot of people will just be like, oh my god, why salt? Well, it's actually the magic ingredient, and it doesn't work without it. I'm sorry guys, I don't know. It just seems to offset the sweetness of everything else, and it's beautiful. Okay, so without further ado, I shall just there we go, chuck everything into my bowl. Okay, so I'm just going to mix up my dry ingredients first. It already smells amazing. Yeah, please don't judge me for using a salad spoon for mixing granola. We don't have a lot of cutlery in this property. It's rented, and all of my kitchen stuff is in storage, so I'm just kind of improvising with what I've got. And in goes my cup of date paste. And I don't know if you can hear it humming in the background, but I have actually got my oven on at the moment to preheat. You cook granola at a low temperature. I think mine's currently on 150 Celsius. I don't know what that is in American monies. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, I don't know what that is in American monies, but there will be conversion tables online somewhere. But yeah, in any event, it's a low temperature. I've seen it done as low as 120. I think the average is about 140. But yeah, I like to do mine at 150. And then just stir. And you do have to stir for quite a long time, especially when you've got like a sticky substance like this. I have made granola with mashed bananas before. I've done it with, actually I tell you, applesauce is a really nice one, which is good. But the problem you find is that the stickier the substance is, and date paste is really sticky, the harder it is to actually get it out of its lumps and to coat the oats. So just keep stirring and break up any lumps that you see. Oh, this smells amazing. I'm so excited about it. And you guys, this actually smells like Christmas pudding. Probably something else to note as well at this stage, because I'm not going to do the whole 20 minutes of baking on the video, is that granola will keep in a jar, like an airtight jar, for a couple of weeks, or you can store it in the freezer in Ziploc bags, which is fine, but it also makes like really nice gifts. So if you're going to make up a huge batch anyway, then why not just decorate like a Kilner jar or one of those clip lock top jars, you know, with some fancy ribbon or spray paint or whatever, or dip them and then just fill them up, because they're easy, inexpensive gifts. And if you're making it for yourself anyway, why not make a huge batch? I mean, I have actually done this 8 cups of oats at a time, so I've doubled this recipe and it still comes out perfect every time. Super, super easy. Okay, so that's looking like it's fairly well done. I'm not seeing any huge globs of dates anywhere in there. And you can already see, I don't know if you can see it on the thing, that this is coming into clusters, which is a really good sign. Some people like clusters more than others. I love clusters because they get these really nice, crunchy, chunky, chewy bits in. And I'll explain to you as I put it in the oven the best way to get those clumps. But yeah, so this is kind of what it looks like, and you can see hopefully that all of the oats are covered in the date mixture. Move some things out of the way here. This is the world's tiniest kitchen. Okay, so to bake it, you need a deep, deep baking tray. This is my granola pan. I am very precious about it. It doesn't get used for anything else. The one time the beloved tried, I told him off. So yeah, this is the designated granola pan. And all you need to do, because obviously this has got fruit sugars in it, but if you'd done it with syrup, it would have syrup in it. To stop it from sticking to the metal, you just line it with baking paper. You can use greaseproof paper, but I just use regular baking paper. And you don't need to grease it or anything, just throw it on there and chuck your granola in. And the bonus of this is that it makes it super easy to wash up as well, because you can just pull the paper out and throw it away and rinse the tray, because there's nothing on it. Okay. So, throw it all in. I think we got this tray from Nesbitt's. There's a huge cookery store on the corner by the house where I live at the moment, and it's I think I went in there and I picked this up, and it wasn't that expensive. It was like maybe $4 or $5.99. I can't remember. Yeah, it doesn't have to be an expensive tray for the sole reason, like I said, that you're not you're lining it with something. So this isn't Teflon coated or anything. It's just a regular steel baking tray. Okay, and at this stage, you don't want to push it down too much. You just want to smooth it out into an even layer. Okay, and once you have that, then you put it in the oven. Now, cooking is something of an acquired knowledge. And when I say that it's an acquired knowledge, what I mean is that you will learn, the more granola you make, how long to leave it for. I have seen everything from 20 minutes to an hour. It really depends on the temperature that you use, and also on what you've put in it. So if you've used the date paste, which has got a whole cup of water in, if you use applesauce, or if you use banana, or if you use pumpkin puree, those things are going to take a lot longer to dry out. So you need to cook them for much longer. So the way to get around that, because you don't want to burn your granola, is to stir it every, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes, so that like you don't get burnt bits around the edges. You just got to stir it all in until it's all toasted and it's all gone nice golden brown. And if you, like me, like the clumps, the way to do that is when you actually stir it, after it's been in for, like I said, 15-20 minutes or whatever, then when you've smoothed it all back out into a layer, press it down. So use the back of your spoon and press down hard all the way along it, and then put it back into the oven. And if you've got to stir it again, then press it again. When you take it out, you will need to leave it aside somewhere to cool completely, right down to room temperature, before you break it up. And that's how you will end up with the nice clumps. So ours usually takes, depending on how densely it's packed and what's in it, it usually takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to cool to room temperature. But yeah, once it's done that, then you can break it up and put it in your tub, and you're absolutely golden and good to go. So yeah, 15.5 minutes. That's pretty much how easy it is to make granola. And I hope you do try it at home, partly for cost reasons, partly for health reasons, partly because it's just darn delicious. And the way that we serve it, we tend to have it, obviously, again, because of the polycystic ovary syndrome, I'm not supposed to eat huge amounts of carbs. So I tend to serve a regular small, like 25-30 gram portion of granola with a couple of handfuls of fresh fruit or fruit compote. Actually, the one I've got at the moment is lovely. It is. This is a Marks and Spencer one, and it's summer fruits, which does have added sugar, so it's not ideal. But yeah, it's pretty healthy. It's blackcurrants, strawberries, red currants, and blackberries with added lemon juice, and that's quite nice. So I just splodge a couple of that on it. But otherwise, because I can't eat dairy, I will often serve it with oat milk, which is my preferred milk, but it's good with almond milk, hazelnut milk, any kind of the nut milks, including coconut milk is quite nice. Or coconut yogurt, actually. A coconut yogurt and granola bowl, especially at the weekend with fresh fruit, is totally delicious. So yeah, anyway, I hope you all try it at least once now that you've seen how simple it is. And if you have any questions or any comments, please just comment on the video and I will see them and reply to them as soon as I can. But otherwise, yeah, again, if you have pictures of your own granola, please post them, or even links to recipes. I am always ready to try new ones. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you all soon. Bye!